This is the Lockpicker 1969, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this next episode of Interview with a Lockpicker. Today's guest is Jimy Longs. Say hi, Jimy.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
So, how and when did you get into locksport?
All right, that's a bit of a long story. Quite a long time ago. It was probably back in the 1990s. I was a teenager, and I had a religious leader, a bishop at the time, had been a locksmith, and he thought it would be interesting to kind of teach us the basics about locksmithing and how to pick locks. And while most of the kids kind of scattered and went away, I paid quite a bit of attention to it. So by that evening time, I was out in my dad's workshop making lock picks out of hacksaw blades, trying to figure out how to pick locks. I mean, before then, I had read some of the guides, like the MIT guide to lock picking and different things that were available. But he's the one that kind of explained the whole strategy on the binding pins and kind of the jiggle test and how to set the pins and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I initially finally figured out the basics of it, and it kind of just took off from there.
Okay. So when would you say you very deeply got involved in picking locks?
That's a good question. So like all through my 20s, 30s, I was always there wasn't a big online group or community, so it was kind of just me making tools, collecting locks, and I would say probably the early 2000s, maybe like 2005, 2010. When the community started coming in together, and I was kind of more like a fly on the wall, which I normally am anyway. I ingest a ton of information, and I read a lot. I watch a lot of videos and different things like that. It probably wasn't until probably about 6 or 7 years ago that I started competing in lockpicking contests and different things like that, at either conferences or Lockfest.
Cool.
And that's probably when I really got into it. But before then, I mean, it probably about 8 years ago, I bought a CNC machine specifically just to learn how to make lock cutaways. So I don't know. It's been one of my favorite hobbies for the last 20 plus years.
Clearly. So I want to dive into how Jimy Longs Picks came into being. But before that, I wanted to ask, what do you do for a living?
I'm a security engineer for a company, and I handle a lot of the incident response, different things like that. So it was kind of my first passion as far as actually loving something. I absolutely love information security and thoroughly love my job. It's always changing. I'm always learning something.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah.
Okay. So, all right. The question everybody's going to want to understand and know, how did Jimy Longs Picks come into being?
I think they've been kind of in the works for the last 4 or 5 years. So I've always loved making lockpicks. I mean, even to this day, I enjoy taking a straight bristle and making a Bogota out of it using like Raimundo's technique for it. He has this very specific technique of filing the street sweeper blade that gives you like that natural shape of the Bogota file. And I love metalwork. So I love CNC machining different things. I love designing on CAD. I use CAD to design all of my cutaways and designing machines. And I guess I never meant to become a lockpick manufacturer, but at the beginning of the pandemic, I was looking for kind of a project to do. And one of the huge untapped resources out there, I really believe, is that there's all these world class lock pickers that get together and chat on Discord, and these are the best lock pickers in the world that pick the unpickable locks, and they love talking about lock picks. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and start designing these lock picks and kind of get their feedback. And my initial reasoning was like, I really want nice lock picks with nicer handles that give you good feedback. And the picks that I had made previously, I designed them. It was kind of, if you notice, the short hooks kind of a mix between a Peterson and a Salford short hook. And so that's where I started. I put this project together. I had never done anything with plastic injection, but I thought it would be fun to attempt to build a plastic injection machine. And that's what I used to inject the handles. And I'm a competent CNC machinist, well, at least amateur-wise. So I built some molds. I designed a machine, and if there's something that I'm really good at, it's spelling pretty quickly. But since I can spell pretty quick and figure out exactly what went wrong, I was able to get
learn from it.
I was able to get my plastic injection machine actually functional, which it surpassed my expectations by 1,000%. With the first couple of injections that I had with it, they were pretty scary. One of them actually broke my vise that I was holding the mold in half. It just cracked it right in two.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, it was a huge learning experience. But yeah, so I was initially working on these. My first set that I sent out to a bunch of the black belts and these guys that are really good pickers just to get feedback. I was using the full hard 301 stainless steel, which is not the best steel out there. It's really kind of bendy.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what you had to learn in relation to understanding metals and metallurgy?
Yeah, so that actually goes back as far as I actually helped design one of the sets for Tool, the Necessary 9, along with Christina Palmer and Harry, where we went through the design. So I've been friends with Christina Palmer for years.
Okay.
And if you don't know who that is,
yep,
she's a great pick designer. She's come up. She's the person behind the Wicked Waves.
Okay.
And the kind of the Bogota profiles that like Peterson uses them. Multi-pick uses her designs. And she's one of my dear friends, and I've literally spent hours and hours in conversation with her, sometimes arguing the same point for hours and hours. But she exposed me to the world of metallurgy,
mm-hmm.
and like the manufacturing and quite a bit of that as far as like lockpick design goes. So even before this project, I helped out with creating the Necessary 9, the tools, kind of the back, and those tools they're definitely not meant for the high security lock picker. They use the 301 full hard on purpose because you can bend them back to normal after they've been through a lock picking village. They're meant to get into most of the majority of the U.S. locks and be functional. So yeah, they're definitely not an advanced pick, but I learned a lot going through that process. But yeah, so I went through and I created the initial design. I have a blog post about it, and I had the traditional lockpick design without the shoulder. And because I was using some pretty pretty standard metal, the 301 stainless steel full hard, the picks were really springy. They were really dampening on the feedback. And if there's one thing the I find extremely valuable is just honest, critical feedback. I sent these tools out, and I'm like, I don't want to hear how nice they are. I was like, just give me your feedback. What's wrong, or what you would find better, and let's see if we can figure it out.
Yeah.
And the feedback I got from these guys, these are the best lock pickers in the world. They are far better than I am. I mean, I'm a competent lock picker. I love picking locks, but these guys just kind of blow me out of the water. So their feedback, I could have never did it without the community.
Yeah.
They were just honest, open. Initially, I thought the picks were fine with like popping locks with them. They were just honest. They're like, yeah, they're springy. They kind of kill the feedback. I like the handles. I got that quite a bit. And I was like, all right. So I was like, well, I don't have the metal. I don't have the metal with the characteristics which specifically, like Peterson uses the 420 stainless steel. The other metal people use is the high yield stainless steel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I ended up going with, but I didn't have those. So I turned to what kind of is natural for me, and I used something called finite element FEA, finite elemental analysis on Fusion 360, and I went through these simulations. I put the designs through these simulations through stress testing and displacement simulations, which is you put a load of contact on the tip of the pick, and it simulates exactly what happens as far as displacement and how it bends. And I could see through the stress test where I needed to reinforce it. And that's when I figured out that if I put a shoulder near the handle of the shank, that I could actually decrease the displacement test in the simulations by about 30%.
Wow.
So that was like an epiphany. And I went with that, and I went through, and I had some more cut up. And mind you, this was still with 301 full hard. And I sent these out, and they're like, yes, it was great. Well, they were a lot better. Because these were still 301 full hard. And it's like, yeah, this solved it. You got it. And I was like, sweet. And then I had some made out of high carbon 1095 steel. And those were just super popular. They really gave you the feedback that we were looking for. And I was like, that's great. And one of the problems that I've had was kind of making them economically. I'm super huge into figuring out processes and making things feasible and efficient. And I was like, well, how do I process these? I mean, I sent these out to all my buddies, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a big batch, see if the rest of the world likes them. And say that it seems like I like them. I like using them. And I think they have qualities above and beyond out there. I put a lot of thought, into
definitely.
Different things.
One of the things you said when we spoke before this interview was that you wanted to create something in a quality set of tools that everybody could afford. And I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah. So that's one of my I want to keep the cost as low as I can, while still enabling me to produce more. And they do. If I had my own way, I would just send them out to everybody for free because I enjoy it. It's my hobby. I use this as a stress relief, and I just thoroughly enjoy people when they're picking like a lever lock with a deep hook, or they're picking these high securities, or even if they're just learning to pick locks. I'm watching them on YouTube, which I watch a lot of. I'm always looking at them. I'm looking at their position, how they're holding the handle, what kind of locks that they're using them on, how they're if there's if it's going to be ergonomic for them, or if it doesn't, if it looks a little bit awkward.
Yeah,
So I'm always looking at that type of stuff too.
I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit because you explained how you came up with the handles, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, so I looked at what was out there as far as the handles, and nothing was really ergonomic. And I started kind of looking outside of lockpicking. And one of the things that I discovered, someone on Twitter actually sent me a link to an ergonomic study for surgeon scalpels out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing was like 500 or 600 pages. So I went through the entire white paper, and there were these great ideas. And it's like, well, which one's best or whatever. And I swear about 85, 90% through it, and they're like, this is the best design. So
very cool.
So I borrowed a lot of it's definitely adapted to lockpicking, but I borrowed a lot of the ergonomic designs from ergonomic.
Well, just like a scalpel, I mean, as a lockpicker, you're doing very finite movements. So I can tell you, as someone who has issues with my hands, I really had a hard time finding any particular type of pick handle that worked really, really well for me until I came across your picks. So my hat's off to you. That's been a game changer too. So the question I have next is, do you think the reaction to your picks did you think the reaction that you got with your picks was going to be what it was in the overall community? And how do you feel about the overwhelming support for them?
Well, I was hoping that people would enjoy them and that they like them. I mean, my goal was I wanted a tool that I really liked using. If I liked using it, I would imagine others would. But the community really took it to the next level. For one thing is that I couldn't have done this project if it wasn't for the community, as far as their honest and valuable feedback and their ideas, what they liked, what they didn't like. And the initial response was really good. Everyone was always positive, but like people can be positive about a project and it's still not be successful. When I initially put these for sale, I was really surprised because the sales just kind of they just started coming in and they just started taking off, and then
you sold out.
Well, yeah. So it wasn't a problem selling them. When I initially made this batch of a few thousand, I'm like, well, I'll either sell these or I'll just be giving away picks for the next few years. It's like either way, it'll be a good time.
No, I don't think you'll ever have to do that. So, what does the future look like for Jimy Long?
So I'm pretty excited about it. I have a lot of ideas. In the immediate future, I have some low-profile hooks coming out that will be part of the hook set, along with a couple other profiles, like one's a gem. And so there will actually be 10 profiles altogether. Still, there won't be any rakes. I know there are some people that will be kind of sad about that, but currently I'm just focusing on pure feedback and the single pin picking for the higher security locks. And the other thing is that currently they'll be in 18,000, and then I'll also have them in 25,000, both in high yield stainless steel, and the 20,000, or excuse me, the 25, or well, I take that back. One's in 18,000, and the next one will be the other will be in 23,000. Just not quite 25,000. Sorry about that. But I went through the entire simulation process, the FEA process, and retuned all the profiles to give similar feedback as we have in the 18,000. That means that the 25,000, they'll be a little bit slimmer along the shape, the shank, but they'll give great feedback just like the 18,000. If not just a tiny bit better, because I didn't need to narrow it down as much as I want. So they'll be completely tuned. And the other thing is that I've had a lot of requests for a thicker handle. So I'll have them in the standard handle thickness that I have currently right now, which is, and then we'll have in and about a quarter of an inch thicker as well.
Cool.
So I hope Rubber Band is happy about that, because I know he wants a thicker handle.
I'm wanting to try them too. So, yep. Soon as you have those out, I'll be picking some of those up and trying them out. So go ahead.
That's what's coming out within the next month or so. Then after that, I really want to get a 15,000, either that or like an HPC tool set, or like a high pin count tool.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes too.
All right. Last question before we wrap this up. What's one thing you'd like people to know about you that they probably don't know?
Yeah, so you let me know that you're going to ask this question, and man, I'm just kind of an open book. I absolutely love talking to people about locksport and their experience. Well, even if it doesn't have to do with my tools, if they're looking into something, they're researching their projects, or having new ideas. Man, if there's some way I can help anybody out there, I have a lot of experience with manufacturing and design and different things. I absolutely, it's one of my passions in life. If you guys got some ideas out there, I'd love to help out where I can. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Mastodon. I'm on Discord. I absolutely love talking to everybody and anybody about locksport.
All right. This getting to know you has been fascinating. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and to do this interview. This has been great. And I'm hoping that people have got a greater sense of what you're really about, what Jimy Longs Picks is about, and what's coming here shortly, so that they can definitely be on the lookout for it. So is there anything you want to say before we wrap up and sign off?
Not really, besides I really enjoy the community and value it out there, and the way that they treat new people and help everybody is great. And
I think the community appreciates you as well. All right, so we'll wrap this up. I want to thank everybody that decided to listen in. If you are currently a subscriber, thank you. If you are not yet a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. And either way, turn on notifications and all, so that you can be made aware of content like this, as well as the giveaways and drawings that I do. I want to thank everybody for listening in. Take care.